The holiday season in London is usually defined by the noise, the roar of the crowds in Piccadilly, the countdowns, the fireworks. But by late 2006, Nelson Street in East London had fallen into a heavy, unnatural silence. At number 101, the lights stayed dark. The milk wasn't collected. The neighbours didn't hear the usual pitter-patter of two young children, 6-year-old Thanha and 5-year-old Anika. For 10 days, the world moved on, unaware that inside those walls, time had stopped. On New Year's Day 2007, while the rest of the city looked toward the future, the Metropolitan Police forced their way into a past they could never erase. They found 26-year-old Juli Begum and her two daughters hadn't just died, they had been discarded, and the man who called himself their protector, Mohammed Abdul Shakur, was already thousands of miles away. To understand the tragedy, we have to look at the power dynamic established years earlier. Juli was just 19 when she was entered into an arranged marriage in Bangladesh. Her husband, Shakur, was nearly 30 years her senior. In many true crime cases, we see this age gap dynamic used as a tool for control. Shakur was a man who had lived a life. Juli was a girl just starting hers. When Shakur moved to the UK on a spouse visa, he wasn't just looking for a new job, he was looking for a new kingdom. He found work as a chef, living in a cramped quarters above the takeaway where he worked. To his co-workers, he was the quiet one. To the UK Home Office, he was a hard-working immigrant. But to Juli, he was becoming a shadow that grew longer and darker every year. As the years passed, 2 daughters were born. In any other home, Thanha and Anika would be the light of their parents' lives. They loved dress up, they loved reading, they were inseparable. But in Shakur's mind, they were a failure. Reports from the trial would later reveal a chilling detail. Shakur was deeply disappointed that he didn't have sons. In his traditional patriarchal worldview, daughters were an expense, sons were an investment. Combined with this resentment was a mounting pile of debt. Working as a chef didn't provide the status Shakur craved. He felt small, and when a narcissist feels small at work, they make themselves feel big at home. The arguments over money wasn't just about pounds and pence. They were about his absolute control over Juli. Juli wasn't silent. She reached out to her sister Shelley, describing a man who was becoming increasingly volatile. Spoke of the domestic abuse, the verbal degradation, and the fear that one day his temper would become something permanent. She even did the bravest thing a woman in her position could do. She left. She took her daughters and moved in with her mother. But this is the most dangerous time in her domestic abuse situation. The moment the abuser loses their property, Shakur didn't see a wife leaving a bad marriage. He saw a subordinate staging a mutiny, a campaign of manipulation to get them back under his roof, using their immigration status and their children as a leverage. We don't know the exact words spoken in late December 2006. We only know the outcome. In a burst of rage that the prosecution described as a merciless, Shakur murdered Juli. Then he turned his sights on the 2 innocent witnesses, his own daughters. What happened next is what separates a crime of passion from a predatory act. Shakur didn't collapse in grief. He didn't call 999. He systematically moved through the houses, collecting Juli's jewellery, the very items he would later sell to fund his escape. He locked the door, boarded a flight to Bangladesh, and left his family to decompose for the 10 days while he enjoyed the freedom of a man with no conscience. For years, Shakur was a ghost. He hid in a rural village of Bangladesh and across the border in India. Chillingly, he didn't hide his identity from everyone. He reportedly told relatives what he had done, using the murders as a warning of what happened when he was crossed. It took until 2013 for him to be detained in India. But even then, the wheels of justice turned slowly. Extradition took another 6 years of legal wrangling. It wasn't until October 2019, 12 years after that silent New Year's Day, that he finally stood in the dock at the Old Bailey. He tried to lie. He tried to blame others, but the evidence was a mountain he couldn't climb. He was sentenced to 40 years, effectively a whole life term for a man his age. Now, let's dissect the why many took at this and see a man stressed by debt. I see a man who never viewed his family as human beings. To Shakur, Juli, Thanha and Anika were objects. When an object is broken or defective, in a narcissist's eyes, they throw it away. The tragedy didn't end with a sentence. Juli's mother died after this discovery, her heart literally unbearable to bear the weight of the loss. This case is a reminder that domestic abuse isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a quiet chef living above a shop, slowly letting his resentment boil over. What do you think? Was the 12-year wait for justice a failure of the system, or a testament to the fact that you can never truly run away? The system, or a testament to the fact that you can never truly run away? Let's discuss in the comments.